Hello and welcome. Hopefully you can hear me. James, I see you're here. Awesome. We will get started. And if others join us, that'll be great. And today we're going to go through Module 3, which is binomial probability distributions. If you have a question, you're welcome to speak up or chat in, whichever you want. So I will be going through and giving you some information on a little bit of information on content, show you some of the resources that are available to you, and make sure you understand how to use the actual spreadsheet that's available to us this week. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming this week. As in weeks past, you're going to have a homework assignment that's going to be due at the end of the week on the 26th. And you're going to have a discussion activity. But this week, you're also going to have a quiz. Now, that quiz is due on the 26th as well. It's worth 60 points. It is weighted a little more than the other stuff, so you want to make sure you do well on it. And it is it covers the material from weeks 1 and 2. And it's very similar in the question type and style of weeks 1 and 2. So as you did that, it should be a help with where you're going. Again, if you need some help, don't wait. Go to DeVry Tutors, which I've talked about every week, but I just want to say it again. Request tutoring if you need it. Also, when you go in, you really want to make sure that you're going in to these resources and the live lessons, which if you go into Math 221 and visit the page, what we're doing this week right here is this discrete probability, which is week 3, and you should be watching the recording and the video examples. I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to do that as soon as you can, because it's going to be helpful for you when you're going through the content. Hopefully you've already done some of that, but nonetheless, I'll take you back there. So this week, there is the introduction and the lesson. Our resources are here. Please make sure you access these. This week 3 spreadsheet, which is here, talk about in just a minute. It has this idea of main concepts in these videos, a specific homework help, and then homework help files. So we're dealing with probabilities again, but we're dealing with a special type of probability. You'll watch that in the content lecture, and the special type of probability is this idea of a binomial, bi meaning 2. It's the probability of something happening if you basically have only 2 options of outcome. So you basically can say a yes or no, or you die or don't die, you succeed or don't succeed. And actually what we call that is when it satisfies the condition that you're looking for, we call them successes. So what we're doing with these binomial ones is we're basically saying if we continue to run trials of winning or not winning over and over again, what's the probability that you're going to have 1 out of 10, 5 out of 10, at least 10, less than 10. Those are binomial probabilities, and you'll deal with that in the content. But just remember that what you're looking for is what is the likelihood of the event happening, and specifically a certain number of times. So you're going to read about that. You'll watch the videos, which are super helpful. They'll show you how to calculate each one of these, which is pretty useful to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it as well with a spreadsheet. They've made it a little too easy for you now, if you ask me, but you're not going to be complaining, I'm sure. So these are the resources. Make sure you use the spreadsheet. Make sure you watch and utilize all these, because this is designed specifically for you. So let's look back here. You have the discussion. You're going to talk about discrete probability variables, and then you have the reading and then the homework. I'm not sure what that is. And one of the things that we're going to be looking for, we're going to look at this homework for a few minutes. But what you'll notice is we don't have a lab this week. We had one last week. I will be going through those labs shortly. I've graded your discussion questions, but I haven't done the labs yet. I always wait just a little bit in case someone has a question, but I'll be grading those shortly. But you don't have a lab this week, but instead you have the quiz. So make sure you get that done early. and you should be able to have that going on. So let's take a look at the homework to kind of see where we're going. It's very similar to weeks past. The way we've seen it in the past, it's very similar. And as you look at this, you're going to set these up. So let's there's a couple different types. Make sure you're aware of continuous and discrete. You'll be able to do these. Here's a frequency. This is actually a frequency distribution that you have. You'll be able to put together a probability distribution of these. This is kind of a little bit of what we did last time as well. So this is week 3 homework. We were able to say, you know, what's the probability of 30 to 39? So if you have this as a frequency, how do you turn that into a probability? And you'll be able to see, you can see that from here. It's pretty easy to do. Same idea here, that you'll be able to calculate one of those, and you're going to be able to get the mean and all the rest. The nice thing is that this also, once you put these in here, if you put some of these values in, it will calculate some of those means as well. But these are a little bit different. So let's go down here and take a look at what we have. These are using specifically the standard deviations. If you put that value in, and you actually build this up here, you're going to be able to see what those look like. And actually, if you look at week 2's spreadsheet, you'll be able to calculate. So you'll be able to do some of those as well. But use these resources to be able to calculate this standard deviation and the rest. There's the video as well as the document. You really want to make sure that you're utilizing these to be able to go through and better understand how to do some of this work. And you'll see it's over and over again, but make sure that you've got it down so it's going to be helpful to you. And you can also save these if you want to. Shows you what you actually have. Here's my value, my expected value for each one of these areas, and tells you what the standard deviation is. So since you have that down here, you're able to go back in and say, here's the probability of each one of these, and you can put those in to here. So let me show you really fast. So if we take these, copy, I'm going to see if it copies and pastes. Let's try it. Text, let's see if this works. Yep, so you can see that it just I copied and pasted in the green area. Whenever you use these spreadsheets, you're going to use this green area here. You'll always be able to type in the green area. Your answers always come out in the yellow area down below. So there's the standard deviation that you'd have. And it's right there. So it's pretty easy to do. So you'll be able to watch some of those, watch the videos and watch the spreadsheets or read the documents. As you go along, you're going to get into more of the binomial, you're going to get more in the binomial distributions. And so you're going to look at these elements, specifically make sure you know what N, X, and P is. N is the number of trials. X is the actual value that you're looking to see. And P is the probability of it occurring. Okay, so if I were to say you have 10 trials, what's the probability of having having actually 3 trials successful if the probability of success is 0.35. So that's the probability of success. You want exactly 3 successes out of 10. And so you'll read those as you go along. Okay, so you're going to see some of those. And then you're going to go through and do the calculations. Very much like last time, you'll read about it, you'll watch it in the content, and it's pretty straightforward. So say a business found that 98.3% soda cans out of production are filled correctly. The company chooses 100 juice cans off the production line in the same facility. What assumption must be made that this study follows the probability of the binomial experiment? So you'll read about the binomial experiment assumptions. I'm going to let you do that. I want to be able to look at some of the other areas. A beer company puts 15 ounces of beer in each can. The company has determined that 95.5% of cans have the correct amount. It's the probability of being correct. Which the following describes the binomial experiment that would determine the probability that a case of 16 cans has all cans that are properly filled. So the N is the number of trials that you'd have. You have to check all 16 of them. Probability of it being correct is 0.95. But the X value, you're going to look at all 16 cans because it says all of them are correctly filled. What's that probability? And so there's lots of ways you can put that in. This is just looking at the assumptions, but if you were to build this, and you were to say the N was 16 cans, because there's 16 total, the probability is 0.95, and the X value that you're looking at is all 16. It's the probability of having that happen. It's pretty low, 0.44. And so it'll calculate that for you, and it'll calculate the mean, standard deviation, and the rest for you as well. Now, this isn't asking for that, but it could be. Okay, so the same idea here, and you're going to want to go through and look at each one of these elements, and you're going to have fewer than 9. So when you look at a binomial distribution, which you guys are going to be talking about in your content, here's the expected value. So you'd have each one of these elements as a 0, each one of the values that you build a binomial table from. So if I have 10 trials and the probability is 7, the probability of having 0 is reflected here, of getting 1 right is reflected here, 2 right is reflected here, and 3 and on down. This is the probability. Now this one here, if you look at the bottom, should sum to 100% as you're going along, because you have 10 full trials to be able to look at these. And so this is the binomial, and this is what we call a cumulative. And a cumulative simply means that I've added this to this to this to this to this all the way down. And as you build each one of those, you'll see it. So the sum down here is 100% as you look at those, because you should have 100% of the probability outcome in this area. So that's kind of the content for this week. I've given you a little bit, and watch the videos to be able to help read these resources, because it's a pretty easy week when it comes right down to it. Content is not that difficult to understand, and once you watch the video, you'll be like, okay, this makes sense. And these resources should make it very good for you. So that's really all that I have with content. This is a pretty basic week. Ask me questions if you have them. I'm going to stick around on here regardless as people come up. But James, if you have questions, please feel free to ask me, and then I'm happy to answer questions on other things as well. So I am here if you have questions. If you get stuck, yes, you can. It might be better off for you to go through the content and then contact a tutor who's going to be able to walk you through it in an organized fashion. If you get stuck on one of the questions, you can also send an email, and I can do a video recording of it as well. If you need it, you're always welcome to contact me, of course. That's no problem. But if you're looking for someone to kind of be a study partner with you, a tutor is going to be a better choice. And if you're struggling with the content, I would recommend going in and setting up a time with them, and they can work it through with you as you're going along. Because I've had lots of students who do that, because I have lots of students who have questions like that. And that's kind of what their purpose is to go through that content to the week. But again, if you have questions, certainly send me an email, and we can either, I can see what I can offer, either video wise or the others. What other questions do you have? Okay, well, I'm going to stick around. You can stick around if you want to. I'm waiting for others to come on. I'll stick around for another 15 minutes or so and see what we get. You can log off or stay on, whatever you'd like to do. Okay, I'm here just in case anyone joins in. I'm here if you have any other questions, I'm still here. Yes, there's actually 4 questions per actual item. So question 1 will have 4 different questions. Question 2 will have 4 different. So every time you take it, it's going to be different, but it's covering the exact same concept. Usually they just change the numbers is all they do. Still here if we have any questions. All right. I think I got nobody.